Hi guys, Dalton here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're back with Jasmine here, and this is going to be episode 3 of Skincare Talks. And today's topic is actually really interesting because we're both in pharmacy. So we'll be talking about pharmacy, why we both wanted to go into it, and also some tips, some tricks, and just kind of like the profession in general. And then at the end, we're also going to do some pharmacy ASMR. Honestly, probably the more exciting part of this entire discussion here. But yeah, Jasmine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So like Dalton said, I'm also in pharmacy. We actually met, I guess, in second term. We had lab together. And other than that, yeah, I'm ready to get schooled by Dalton's skincare routine.
Yeah, so as you guys know, Skincare Talks, I made this into a series where I do skincare with my friends and then I choose a topic of discussion. So today's episode happens to be on pharmacy, which I hope some of you will have some interest in. I feel like a lot of people don't, like honestly, no one knows what pharmacy does. So I feel like it's our job to educate people. So let's start off with our first product of skincare before we go into the first question. So I already cleansed my face because I don't want to go back to my sink. But after I cleanse my face, I go in with a toner. So I go in with the glycolic acid here from The Ordinary. Which product do you go in with?
Okay, so I just washed my, I already did everything to my face that was necessary, but generally I use micellar water, and a cotton pad, and it's just like, I wash my face and then I cleanse it with this. It's just like the Nivea, I think you get it from Walmart, Superstore. Nothing too fancy, but I do love The Ordinary, so I might try that out.
Very cheap, yeah. So I feel like so far with the people I filmed, I have like 3 times the amount of skincare compared to everyone. So I'll just go in extra with a few extra steps. So I go in with the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Hydrating Toner. And this is really good for dry skin, so I use it. Actually, do you want to hear this? It makes a really weird noise.
I like it. ASMR.
Yeah. So let's go into the first question of today. So the first question is, why did we both want to go into pharmacy? Do you want to start off?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I did my bachelor's in bio, did a minor in English, always figured that I wanted to teach. I was like, okay, so like, where do I go from here? I was in 4th year when I was trying to figure everything out. Went to school in Kelowna at UBCO. So I started working in a pharmacy in Lake Country. I really liked the environment in that community. It's a small community and I felt like I got to like know everyone really quickly, and I really enjoyed that. At the same time, I was also taking a plant biochemistry course, and I love plants and I love biochemistry. My prof at that time really like triggered my interest in plants and drugs. So I was like, okay, there's 2 things, like 2 ways that I could go about this. I want to end up maybe teaching. Either I go the master's, PhD, postdoc route, or I go the pharmacy route because I already know I like this environment. It was a very difficult decision, to be honest, because there was a really cool study that was waiting on the side for me. And then I decided to go with pharmacy. Still think about that study every day, but it's okay. We're here now.
Do you feel like you regret it? Like, did you wish you chose the other route?
No, honestly, because I know that this will lead me where I want to be at the end of the day. I enjoy what we're learning, and I feel like it's actually, I don't regret that decision. I did initially in first term when we had to do anatomy, IMC, and then PDD, all these things, but in second term I realized like, no, I made the right decision.
And I feel like you can't really like regret I mean, you can. Like, if you went with the other route, you wouldn't know what pharmacy would be like. So I always see it as like, kind of live in the moment and try to find the positives in everything that you're in. Because at the end of the day, if you choose something, you kind of have to stick with it. You can't really say like you regret it, you know what I mean?
Like, I feel like being in pharmacy has opened up my eyes to different routes of pharmacy. Like, it's not just community. Initially I came in for community research, teaching, whatever. But like, there's like clinical aspect, there's primary care, there's hospital, there's so many other things that you can do as well. So it's nice to have options.
Kind of why I went into pharmacy was actually back in high school. I knew that I always wanted to be in the medical field because I really like helping people, and the science aspect really interested me, like healthcare specifically. But I just knew deep down, like I was not meant for med school. Like, I knew that first, I'm not smart enough. And second of all, my grades would have been too low. Like I would just get rejected straight out. Like, they would get my application, like med schools, and they'd be like, throw it out. But
Okay.
that was just the vibe, and I just felt like I wasn't passionate enough to be in med because, like, in order to go into med school, you have to like do your undergrad, and then you have to do like do med school, then do your residency, then fellowship. You know, it's like a lot of schooling, and not gonna lie, I'm over school, so like I can't imagine myself like doing like up to 10 years of school. So to put myself in a position where I would have to do more schooling than I would like to, I feel like I would lose passion, especially with something I wasn't really passionate to begin with. It's not something that I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. So I was like, okay, like what else can I do that's not like medicine, right? So then I think I was 16 and I wanted to like explore my options, because I like planning things out and I don't like leaving things last minute, especially like because I know in university everyone kind of like scrambles and like people switch their majors, which is like completely fine and acceptable. I think it's part of finding out who you are, but I just tend to be more precautious, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to end up like that, or like I don't want to be put in that situation. So I kind of wanted to explore options early on before I headed off into university. So I was like, okay, like pharmacy sounds interesting, so like why don't I actually like try get opportunities, or like job opportunities, volunteer opportunities, to see if that's something I like. So I remember I like emailed a bunch of like independent pharmacies, and none of them got back to me. Like I got ghosted. But then actually one got back, and then they're like, hey, like do you want to start off as a cashier and then like work with us on weekends? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like this will at least like give me an opportunity to like ask questions, see like what the job is like, right? I remember when I started, like I immediately loved it. Like I loved talking to patients, and like I loved talking to people. And as I advanced like further in my role past like the cashier role, and like I started working as an assistant, you know, like counting pills, putting through prescriptions, and doing more technical things other than just like, you know, doing cash, which is also a really still important part of like a pharmacy, because it's a lot of patient interaction. I was like, okay, like I think this is something I really want to go into. And then yeah, the rest is history.
I completely agree. I feel like every role is like so important. Like your pharmacy assistant, I did pharmacy assistant too. I feel like knowing that aspect of it gives us an advantage, like when we actually become pharmacists, because we know the systems and we know how everything, like we know from the ground up how it works. So that's like a huge advantage. And like, yeah. I know your job is like super, super cool. So like I'm so glad you got that opportunity.
Yeah. And like when you start off on those positions too, then you like advance, like whenever we do become pharmacists, we appreciate, you know, we're like, yo, I was in your shoes like back then. I appreciate your work, right? And I feel like we'll definitely be more receptive and just like more welcoming to all of our staff members. So I think that's cool that we kind of started in those positions, because then we kind of like, we get the struggle. So, and
like now you can, like as a pharmacist, you can give that opportunity that someone gave to you to someone else, which is, I think, like that's such a happy thing.
Anyway, so I don't know how many more products you have, but I'm gonna go next with an essence. So I use this after my toners, and it's the Neogen Real Ferment Micro Essence, which contains a lot of fermented ingredients. Sounds kind of nasty, but it's really good for giving your skin like a glow, and it's just healthy for your skin. Okay. Kombucha? Maybe. It does contain like, I'm pretty sure it contains like bacteria or something. How about you? Do you have your next steps?
All right. Well, you know what? I originally didn't even start with my gentle scrub. So this is like the Cetaphil. So I wash my face with that. I forgot to mention. But anyway, after I do have toner, but I don't use it. I guess if I knew like the full benefits of all these products, I would actually use them, but I just get really lazy. So the next thing that I do is hyaluronic acid. It's ordinary and I love it. And then like if I'm doing this in the mornings, which I don't know if it's looked down upon to have like the same routine in the morning and the night. But anyways, again, I'm here to be schooled. I use like the ordinary, their caffeine solution. And I feel like because I have big eyes, I get really puffy eyes. And so that has been really helpful for me because I struggle with that. But
wait, so what's the name of the toner that you use?
It's Kiehl's Ultra Facial Toner. Gentle toner for all skin types, but I use it on occasion.
When you feel like it. Toners are good for balancing the pH in your skin, because if the pH of your skin fluctuates, then it results in an unhealthy like skin barrier. So basically toners just sets it back to like the normal pH level, which is I believe 5.5.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember from the top of my head, but it's just to make sure it doesn't get too acidic or basic, and then it kind of sets like the mood for the rest of your other like skincare products to go on nicely without like fluctuating the pH.
That makes sense.
It's not completely necessary, but I mean, as a skincare guru, Of course, I
Of course.
gotta do it. So
That's good.
So next question we're going to go into is tips for first year students that are going into pharmacy. So I guess we have a lot to say about this, but I think we'll try and keep it as concise as possible. Who knows, if this is popular, maybe we'll do a part 2 because there's so many things to cover. Honestly, there's a lot of things to talk about. I guess I'll just give my tips first. I think going into first year pharmacy, it's definitely a really big change and it's very unexpected. It's kind of like the change that you kind of experience when you go from high school to university, like that first initial jump, but it's kind of more intense. It's 2 times more intense. So I feel like once you go in, you're gonna get bombarded with a bunch of information, and you might feel overwhelmed, and you might think oh, I need to know all of this. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing that I learned from first year pharmacy is that you can't know everything. You just can't expect yourself to know everything just because it's just such a sheer amount of information. So you just need to know how to prioritize what's important, and kind of drawing out information from both your lectures and your practical labs, and kind of understand the big picture rather than the small details. Because I think that's what a lot of people kind of struggle with, is that they try to memorize all the small details and then they kind of forget the entire picture. You just need to not do that.
That's really good advice. I definitely was a victim of that too. Any other tips?
I mean, I feel we have different learning styles. For me, actually, I feel I have a different learning style compared to 99% of the people in the faculty. I'm a pretty big online learner, so this whole shift with COVID has actually it hasn't really impacted me in terms of my learning, because I'm the type of student that kind of uses the slides to kind of draw the information. I write it down, and then I kind of extrapolate okay, what do I need to know that's applicable to practice? And actually, that's where working in a pharmacy is really important, because you can kind of see what you use in practice and what isn't being used. So I kind of use my experiences working in a pharmacy, and I'm okay, what we're learning now, yes, it's I get it's kind of important to know as underlying information. At the end of the day, it's if I can just scrap it, then I will. You know what I mean?
Okay, so for me, yeah, we definitely do have different learning styles. For first year, first term especially, so I finished my degree, so I came in with a Bachelor of Science, and first term just felt the majority of my classes in undergrad fit into 3 months. So it was a little bit insane. It's kind of confusing. So I don't want to go into modules and all of that, because you'll know when you get there. But I think understanding the structure of what you're learning, and like you said, extrapolating the important information. I remember there's so many little things that go into your grade too. Obviously you want to do well, but there's so many little things that go into your grade. And I remember for example, care plan. I'm hey, it wasn't worth too much, and I spent 4 days on it. I would spend so much time just on all these little things, and they do add up. But I feel had I organized and used my time better, I would have done better. Because I'll be honest, first year, first term will probably be my worst grade for this entire 4 years. I already know. But it's because it's such a huge jump. For me, I was lucky to have friends that I met right away, and shouts and Mole met them right away, and we just clicked, and I feel supported each other. It was nice to have those two as okay, we're all going through this together. And even as a class, it's okay, everyone's kind of going through it together. Most people are in it together, and it's nice to know that. But yeah, for tips, I would say a planner. So full organization, at the beginning of the year, write down your schedule, because there's so many different things, and labs are at different times every week, and you have all these classes. You want to know when one subject ends and another one starts, and when your next exam is, and there's so many, literally week after week. Not to scare anyone off, you can definitely do it, but it's just important to stay organized and utilize that time properly. I definitely learned proper time management in first term, or tried to at least. But if you get through first term and second term, you start learning conditions, and it's, for me, I was hey, this is what I'm here for. I want to learn conditions, therapeutics, chemistry, everything. It was a huge change. So if you can push through first term and get to second term, you'll know, basically. If you're yes, I want it, because some people are unsure, right? Some people are I don't know, but it's, once you get to second term, that's what I knew. That's what I was okay, I love this. I'm here for it. ID, let's go.
For further context, this is just kind of UBC pharmacy. I don't know if other schools kind of employ this curriculum, but usually first term, I'm assuming it's the same for most pharmacy schools. First term is usually just foundation, so they throw a lot of things that you might learn in undergrad undergrad, but it's very condensed. So you'll go through like anatomy, you'll go through chemistry and like how the molecule looks and all that, and then you also go through something like pharmacokinetics and like math, and then learning introductions to like the healthcare system and like how like medical terminology, and it's just a lot. Like honestly, like it's kind of a blur at this moment. Like I don't really know what happened in first term, but like I said, like at the end of the day, like my biggest advice is that don't get caught up in the small details, because you'll have your 4 years to explore all this information and to kind of make it easy for you to access, and just like take time to like hang out with friends, spend time doing the things that you love, because once you're out of school, you're going to go into the workforce, right? So university is really like a time that you want to make sure is like the best times of your lives. Utilize the time that you have to do the things that you enjoy, and try not to like be so caught up on high grades, because at the end of the day, I think working at a pharmacy and understanding the most important things is more important than spending all your time memorizing a chemical molecule. And that's just my perspective. I don't know if that can be agreed upon for all students in my program, but at least for me, I would rather spend more time, or like less time actually, not looking at all these things and just drawing up the most important things for me, is like especially how to speak to patients. Like if you don't know how to do that, it's literally over for you. So if you don't know how to, you know, interact with people, or like how to like deal with conflict, then all this information that you have in your head is practically useless.
No, I definitely agree with that. And just to add on to your interaction point, it's like they teach it, right? So they like have areas where they'll talk about how to interact with a patient and how to go about it correctly. Like you definitely just need to be open to understanding how to communicate. That's such a big thing. Such a big thing. I definitely agree with that. If you aren't interested in learning that, or if you don't want to like learn that, then it's over for you.
And it is something that you are taught in class, but I feel like there's certain things that you like, there's a limit to what you can learn theoretically. There's some things that you just need to apply, such as talking with patients and like interacting with them, and like, you know, going over the medication, speaking to doctors. Like those are things that you kind of just need to do first-handedly, like by yourself, right? And like there's only like you can read about like how to be nice to people, but like if you can't actually like do it, then how do you know if you're actually capable of performing these tasks, right? So I feel like that's my biggest advice. Don't be afraid to like go out of your comfort zone and like talk to people, make those networks, make those connections, and, you know, work in a pharmacy, see if this is what you really like. If you don't, then don't go into pharmacy, right? And I guess that kind of goes into our next question, why you should really be passionate about going into pharmacy. Before we go into that, I'm gonna do my next like because I have a lot of products still. So after you cleanse, you go in your toner and then your essence, and now I go into my serum. So we actually use the same one, hyaluronic acid 2% plus B5 from The Ordinary, and this is good for hydrating the skin, because hyaluronic acid can actually hold 1,000 times its own weight in water. So when you apply it to the skin, water is drawn in from the environment and makes your skin very plump.
Okay.
Next serum, 5 out of 10 probably. I go in with the Versed Vitamin C serum, which is good for brightening the skin and is an antioxidant. So it's good for like just making you look less dead.
I need that.
I think we all need that. So
prescription, like
it's just good to apply to your skin, because the antioxidant, it helps like counteract with like pollutants in the environment. So it just helps make your skin more healthy. And like as like a disclaimer for this whole skin, well, not even a disclaimer, kind of like some information about like skincare talks. I mean, with skincare, I feel like people are very obsessed with like using a lot of products because like it's like trendy, or they feel like everyone else is using it. But honestly, you don't need like an advanced skincare routine, as long as you're using the most important ones, which is like a cleanser and a moisturizer. The most important thing is that you have healthy skin. You know, we can't all have perfect, like bright, shiny, like acne-free, pore-free skin, right? And like, I think a lot of people try to achieve that, and then when they don't get it, they kind of get discouraged. It's kind of like when you like work out, right? And you're like, oh, I want to get slim thick, or like I want that body, right? But like the same thing with skincare, right? Like you can't, your skin's gonna go through moments of like where it's screaming and like it looks like it's horrible, but like as long as you're taking care of it and you have proper hydration, and yeah, you're just using the right products, and that's all that matters.
Hydration.
Yeah, sorry. So I just went on a tangent there, but this is about education. So
So I don't do serum on serum because I didn't know that was a thing. But if I don't use the hyaluronic acid, I'll use this. It's called B-Plane. It's almost out. And there's this thing in there called Cecifol. I don't know, but it feels really nice. And that's the reason I use it. I don't know what it does, but it feels really good. And then after that, I just have one product.
You can leave that for the grand finale.
Yes.
Stay tuned for my next series where I make skincare routines for my friends.
Yes, please. I need it.
So kind of going back to our discussion on the whole like first year tips, whatever, and then kind of like why you should be passionate about pharmacy. So to kind of preface it, it's super important. I mean, like, I feel like this can be said for practically everything, but make sure that you go in it for the right reasons. I feel like there are some occasions where people go into it because of the money. And if that's the case, you're probably going to be miserable because you need to enjoy at least some aspects of whatever you're doing. I'm not going to say that you have to love pharmacy. You don't have to like love it. Like, it doesn't have to be like your super, super passion, right? But like, I feel like you need to love some aspects of it because at the end of the day, like, you know, we go to work because we need to, you know, make coin to sustain, you know, to buy a house, not be poor, not be homeless. So I feel like that is the main objective, is to get a job that pays the bills, right? But I feel like it's also important to find a job that, you know, you don't want to go to work and want to shoot yourself.
Just to add on to that, I talk about pharmacy and like being passionate about it. There's other fields if you want to make money. In this field or in healthcare, I feel like it's surrounding, like it's patient-centered, right? So you want to be intrigued by the human body. You want to be intrigued by conditions and therapeutics and what you can do better. And you want to be passionate about that so that you can provide the best care. I think that's very important. Going in, like you said, like going in for the money, probably better off doing something else. Not that it pays well, but just, you know, your work is going to surround caring for someone else. So it's important that you actually care. But in addition to that, I think that even like in pharmacy school, to get like very encaptured by pharmacy and just be like completely drowning in it, I think it's important to have other hobbies or other activities in addition to pharmacy. Like, you can make pharmacy your whole life, that's cool too. But like for me, I'm like, to keep my sanity, I'm like, all right, pharmacy, but also like keeps me going is like, oh, like I find like some subspecialty that I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, like I want to read about this, or I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I'm draw something, like, you know, or read or whatever. Like, just taking time out, like be passionate about it, but also take time out for yourself. For the majority, it's like you need things to balance your life, right? For some people, if you can like completely get into one thing and just focus on that and be fine, like that's cool too. But for me, I'm like, I gotta do other things. Like, I love it, but I gotta do other things.
And I think this can be said for like all other professions, but like I think the more time you put into it as the years go on, I can just see that people can burn out. So it's important to know that like this is literally going to be like probably the rest of your life. I mean, like, it doesn't have to be. It's important to find like side things that you can do. And I feel like the more time that you put into other things, you'll appreciate pharmacy for what it is, because you'll have time put into it, but you'll also have time put into other things as well. I mean, for me at least, if I did pharmacy, like everything was pharmacy related, I would literally go crazy because I need to do other things like, you know, skincare.
Yeah, exactly.
Skincare is related to pharmacy. I feel like I could help people get onto like skincare routines, like Jasmine.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. So I have like my personal training cert and like group training cert. So I'm like, I feel like that's related too, because everything's like health related. You want to get fit? You want some drugs? Like, what's going on?
You're branching out and you're doing other things. Other reasons why you should be passionate. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like is self-explanatory, but I think the only way you will know, well, not the only way. I feel like one way you can know if you're passionate about it is like doing your research on it. So like reading about the profession, you know, what the profession entails, the job responsibilities and the duties, the work environment. And then also, if you have an opportunity to like go into a pharmacy, talk to the staff members or see if you can shadow someone to see if it's a really good fit for you. I know there's a lot of stigma nowadays in the media about pharmacy like literally disintegrating, and as much as that is negative and like there is somewhat of a truth to it, I feel like it's important to understand that like the job market's literally bad everywhere, and you just have to make sure that you're you're in it for the long run and that you really want to do this before going into something where, you know, like there's just a lot of like competition and a lot of like saturation. So it is something to keep in mind. Job prospects is important too. So make sure you look into that before deciding what you want as a career. And this is just like general advice for all careers, I guess. I guess it's not really like pharmacy. Like it is more pinned towards pharmacy, but like you get it, you know, just like do your research, talk to people, and make sure you've explored other options before you like kind of dive into your final option. Kind of like how Jasmine was like, do I want to do my master's or do I want to do my pharmacy? And then she's worked at one as well too, right? So she was able to kind of balance the two and then be like, okay, I think I'm ready to make my final decision. But if you haven't really done that before, I would advise to do something similar.
Yeah, I definitely agree with like doing your research before jumping in. Like if you're in like first year, whatever, second year, and you're like, oh my God, like I don't know if I want to do this, like that's not a fun place to be. So doing your research prior to, and then definitely shadowing. Like I would try to reach out to like community pharmacists or even pharmacists in different fields. Like there's industry, there's hospital, there's primary care, there's so many different things that you can do. So it's like reaching out to different people to see what you can do and where you can go with it, and like also doing your own research of job prospects, like Dalton said, definitely important. Because then otherwise you're sitting in second year or third year and you're like, do I even want to do this? And then you see a thread of posts saying, oh my God, there's no job prospects, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't do my research. So definitely be prepared prior to.
And this is a raw channel, so we are going to be honest. Like the job market for pharmacy isn't the best. It's actually doing really bad compared to how it was a few years ago. But if you kind of stick with that mindset and that mentality, you kind of become absorbed in this negativity. As much as I like can be negative sometimes, I believe it is important to be optimistic and like you create your own opportunities, right? And pharmacy is all about like networking and like talking to people, making good impressions on, you know, working at a pharmacy and like making connections with the faculty. So as much as, yeah, the job market could be better for pharmacy, I think if you find a place that you love working at and you know that you can make something out of like if you have kind of like an idea of where you want to head, then I think you shouldn't have to worry too much. I mean, like it's always going to be a worry at the back of our heads, like, oh, what is it going to be like when we graduate? Like it's probably going to be a little bit rough, but like as long as you're passionate about kind of where you want to head and like if you have an idea of where you want to work, and I think that will help alleviate some of like the negativity surrounding this profession. So my ending statement is I wouldn't have a comment of whether or not I would recommend this profession, but I would say if you are interested in it, make sure you do your research, make sure you talk to people, and make sure you make connections and networks that are worthwhile.
I back everything that you said. I definitely agree with that. Like, not gonna say do or don't do it. It really just depends on the person and what you're interested in.
It depends on your circumstances and what you're interested in, your specific like situation, right? Yeah. Anyways, I feel like there's so much more to talk about pharmacy.
I know.
Really a very broad term. I'm probably gonna make a separate video about like honestly what pharmacists do because no one knows what we do. We do not just count pills.
You know what? I definitely think you should. And like let everyone know that I've worked in community pharmacy, so I know the generalizations that are made for sure, and like kind of the mistreatment that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with people not knowing pharmacists and even pharmacy assistants and technicians are doing, because to them it's like, oh, like just pass me the bottle on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and there's so much more to it. Yeah, like I gotta go, like can't you just, it's right there. There's so much more to it for sure.
Yeah, definitely a very like deep conversation. We can go into that.
No, I know. I have the grand finale product as well. So.
Okay, I have
you first.
3 more pots, so I'll do it all in one. So I have the rosehip seed oil, which is good for scars and fading like any kind of like impurities you have. I like mixing it with this because I don't like putting pure oil on my face. And then after that, I just go in with a moisturizer. But I'll show you that. Do you want to show us what you're gonna use?
Yeah, so I actually used to put, what was that oil? Starts with a J, but it's, I don't remember. Anyways, put oil on my face and it was really nice. And I don't know why I stopped actually. But anyways, my last key product is, and this one I'll like put on most nights. I get lazy sometimes. Anyways, Ultra Facial Cream, Kiehl's. So it's the moisturizer you use. I love it. I have like pretty dry skin, so it's nice without being too heavy. I'm actually gonna put some on right now.
First step that you did on this entire video.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm doing it wrong. Even though I do this all the time.
And then I finish it up. I switched between moisturizers, but just to like spice it up sometimes. So sometimes I use a CeraVe one, but today I'm going to use the First Aid Beauty Intense Hydration for Dry and Parched Skin. So that's literally me in a sentence. And it's just good to seal everything up.
Oh,
Pick up.
fair enough. You're glowing.
So that was a Dalton's 10-step skincare routine versus Jasmine's 2.5.
Like, yeah. So safe to say you're going to be building me a skincare routine. Okay, thanks.
For a few of my friends. So if you're down, I'm actually down.
Yes, I will buy everything you recommend.
Anyways, so that has been the conclusion of Skincare Talks episode 3. I hope you had as much fun as I did. It was actually really fun. I hope you enjoyed that.
No, I'm like, how can we do this every night? I miss you.
Treat having you on here. Do you have any final remarks for my viewers?
Regarding my crappy skincare routine or regarding pharmacy?
Any comments that you might have you wanna bring to the table, I welcome you.
I think my most important takeaway for anyone listening that's interested in healthcare in general is probably know what you're getting into, and that involves doing your research, shadowing people, trying to see what opportunities are available, and then trying to connect basically and network with people and see what you can learn from that. Prior to entering and even while you're in the program, probably a good idea. And in general, this is something that you want to do. It's worth it, but it's a lot of hard work.
Adding on to that, when you build like connections with patients and like, they appreciate the things that you do, there are patients that are really like expressive with that, and like they show how appreciative they are with your work and stuff. It's really rewarding, and that's one of the things that makes me feel good, especially like when I know that I'm making a difference in people's lives, because I feel like that's one major thing that kind of drove me into this profession as well, is like making a difference in people's lives and leaving an impact and creating those like relationships with people, because that's really important to me, and like that's something that I keep as a core value to myself. That's
like an unreal feeling, like especially like working in community when someone appreciates you. Over the summer I had like a patient bring me a card, and it was just like the sweetest, like it's just so nice, like there's little nice gestures that happen and people see that you're working hard and appreciate that, and it's nice. And also, last thing, you'll make great friends in pharmacy. Case in point.
Yes, Jasmine has been a treat, and we struggle together, so that's nice.
We did. Second term.
But yeah, anyways, we're probably going to conclude this video now, but thank you for watching. Let us know if you have any questions about pharmacy. Let us know in the comments down below. And who knows, maybe we'll make a part 2. High demand, you don't know. Whoever knows. There might be some high demand. Maybe next time Jasmine will have a much better skincare routine. Who knows?
You know what? I'm on the come up.
Comment down below if Jasmine should get a better skincare routine. Yours is not that bad. We'll leave that for another episode, but like I have a friend, when I see their skincare routine, I like can't believe it, but
I feel like, let me help you.
Yeah, it's like you need an intervention right now. But to each their own, and I respect everyone's decision, so I only give recommendations, and if you decide to take it, then I will be happy. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me today.